Oh, hey, and we're back. I'm not really sure what happened, but anyway, hello. Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. Erie took the 1-0 lead, though, and that's where Rogelio is right now.
Yeah. Take
But,
two. Electric
yeah,
Boogaloo.
right. And I guess if, you missed it and you're joining us back, we're going to have to provide some Tigers therapy. I. I don't know how to put this politely. I love doing the show with you guys. I love doing it. Like I look forward to it every time. There is just a little part of me that was not dreading it, but like really just in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to talk about this mess because regardless of what you think, it's been a mess of a baseball team for since the last show. Really, for a whole week, is not looked like a good baseball team.
Yeah, there's no question. Last week we were on the air, and they had just beaten the Yankees twice, and the game three hadn't kicked off yet. And those two wins really looked like something to get them going in the right direction, and then it has been anything but.
Yeah, it's it's been ugly. I really thought maybe like it felt with those two big Yankees wins, it felt like, hey, this is it. They're gonna turbo their way into the playoffs, and it's just been straight downhill since then. And I mean, you could kind of see something like that coming against the Marlins. They're a scrappy young team, and it's always about like how the team is playing when you're facing them, right? Like Cleveland is on a ridiculous run right now, particularly with their pitching, and that was ended up being a really rough matchup. And the Tigers just aren't playing terribly well. There's just not. I don't know. I tweeted out today that I didn't think they were playing really poorly, but I have kind of a different definition of that, I guess. To me, they're playing poorly when they are making errors and the pitching isn't executing and they're just kind of giving away games. And I thought, for the most part, outside of Will Vest's horrible 10th inning, they pitched really well in the series.
Yep.
I think they gave up 10 runs total in 3 games. That's not, outside of, again, out of the Will Vest explosion. The starters, I thought, looked good for the most part. They weren't working terribly deep into games. They just could not get hits. And I guess in my head, a lot of that is kind of luck and timing. But I suppose there has to be something to it, right? Like you have to be able to put together good plate appearances and come up with a clutch hit now and then. And in today's game in particular, it felt like they were going to really blow it open early against Tanner Bybee. And they had 3 straight hits. It was looking good. And then Dalen Dingler just with a soft ground out, and then a strikeout and a line out, and that was it. That was the only scoring for the game. It felt too familiar, right? They've done that too often this year, where it seems like they're gonna put up a big rally and then it just fizzles out, and they don't ever even really threaten again.
I mean, I literally went to a game earlier this year that was exactly like that extra inning game. It was another game against Cleveland. I watched the Tigers score 3 runs in the first, put no effort whatsoever into the offense the whole game. Cleveland tied it this time, so I mean that was the opposite. But in that game, Cleveland goes off in the 10th inning, scores 4 runs, and the Tigers were listless and couldn't do anything about it. So I think literally we have seen that game before from the Tigers, and I think that added more, emotion for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you just go back and think go back and think about what that Kerry Carpenter home run could have been had the Tigers been able to pull that out. That would have been that's the breaking moment for Cleveland this year. And instead,
right.
Will Vest just went out there and it was just remarkable, just extra base hit after extra base hit. I don't even know. It was so odd. And and after that, they basically didn't score.
Yeah. Here's the thing, you see a lot of people on Twitter saying the Tigers look dead, uninspired. The other teams wants them more, blah, blah, blah. It just comes down to they're not hitting. I mean, they're not hitting. I'd love to say it's anything else. When they lost the 12 out of 13 a couple months back, right, they were getting their asses kicked in every phase of the game.
Yeah.
Offense, defense, and everything else. I mean, I almost said special teams, but they would have, if they had special teams, they would have gotten kicked there too. And this is different. They're, as Chris said, they're pitching well, but they just have so many guys who are in either drastic slumps or mini slumps all at the same time. They cannot string together a long rally to save their lives, and they're not even really getting the short sequence runs of a a scratch single and a home run and get 2 runs. They're not getting that either. You're in a bad way when Cleveland Indians are hitting more home runs than you.
Yeah, and that was today's game was so ridiculous too because Tarek Skubal was just awesome against the first 5 hitters in the lineup. Anybody who's a real threat, and then a collection of guys who hit under 200 and don't belong in the big leagues basically kept getting on base against him. It's just one of those like weird baseball things, right?
Do they only bring up Jhonkensy Noel to play against the Tigers? Because I know he hasn't been up there, and he hits home run every time, it feels like.
He was hitting like 140 or something, wasn't he?
150 going into the game, and he has a single and then rips a home run against Tarek Skubal. I just want to bring up 2 Deadly Ninja Beast point. I read an article earlier about Trey Sweeney. He has a WRC plus of 5 in the second half. Not 5. 5. Javi Baez is at 37, Zach McKinstry 78. We've got guys that were performing, and they're just not right now.
Yeah, and I think we all kind of expected that out of Baez and McKinstry, right? Like we didn't think McKinstry was a true talent all-star, I don't think. I don't think anybody really expects anything of Sweeney. I think Gleyber Torres has been a disappointment in the second half. The Sweeney thing is basically he can't hit velocity. Yeah. And that's hard to make a living. And you would think like he's got a lot of like solid skills or tools, but like it basically seems like he needs a complete swing overhaul. And I don't know if the Tigers I can't think of anybody they've actually completely overhauled their swing. And I don't know if it's really worth the effort or if it's even possible, right? Like this is a guy who was in the Yankee system and the Dodger system, and they were both happy to ship him away. So, he's kind of a placeholder at this point. They don't really have other options, right? It's Baez, it's Baez, it's Sweeney, it's McKinstry, and all 3 of them are not hitting.
Which is your lesser of the evils? I know it is really amazing. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Maybe I am. I'm wrong a lot. The Guardians, a lot of their guys, I just feel like they hit a lot of pitches that aren't great pitches and get hits. They really seem like a bunch of plate divers. I mean, they really will dive and they will throw their hands at pitches, and they get a fair share of hits that way. It seems to me the Tigers they're a little bit more, swing from the heels. And that's the main difference as I watch these 2 teams. The Tigers are trying to get extra base power and home runs, and that's fine. But the Indians are going about their plate divers and just poking the ball around. And right now they're getting the better of the results on that.
Yeah, they have the 3rd worst offense in baseball, the 3rd worst WRC plus in baseball. This is not a team that should be going anywhere or winning 9 out of 10 games. They just have stopped giving up runs. Well, and it's incredibly frustrating because, to your point, like they consistently get little BS hits. Was it Manzardo had a double on a nonsense blooper? But I guess that's sort of what happens sometimes when you are that type of player and you're just trying to put the bat on the ball. Sometimes you get lucky, but it's incredibly frustrating to watch, particularly as you're used to the Tigers kind of hitting the gaps, and they just haven't been able to do that. Stephen Kwan is out there catching everything, and it was a terrible series, about as bad as it could go. But you look on the bright side, I suppose. Still a 3.5 game lead in the division. Still, I think a game up over Seattle and Houston for the second. To get a bye, if they can just win some games against the Braves and then Cleveland and Boston. But but the way they're playing right now, it's that feeling like we had back around the All-Star break, where it feels like they're never going to win again.
Well, they got 6 of the 9 on the road, but really they're not playing well at home either. So I guess it's really whatever.
Yeah.
And Atlanta, obviously they've had a rough season, but they just, I think, swept the Nationals. Not that that's any great shakes, but they're not coming in on a down stretch. I mean, they're hitting the ball pretty well. So we'll have to see. I think when you feel like you're playing some must-win games, you don't care to see Ronald Acuna on the field.
No. Or, that's – remember the Braves probably heading into the season were one of the, favorites in the National League. Because they have a ton of talent. And, Chris Sale is back. The Tigers aren't going to see him, fortunately, but they're going to get Spencer Strider. They're going to get Bryce Elder, who's the kind of annoying pitcher who We'll give up 6 runs to the White Sox, but shut down the Tigers for 8 innings.
You just know Joey Wentz is going to have a no hitter through 4 innings. You know that's coming. You can just see it, and the Twitter meltdown will be grandiose. It'll be epic.
Yeah, and I think even beyond a sweep, I believe that they mopped the Nationals. Right, it was a 4-game sweep. They call that a mop these days.
Okay.
So
I honestly never heard that.
Jose Briseño with a bases loaded walk to put the Seawolves up 3-0. Kevin McGonigal struck out swinging with 1 out and the bases loaded.
No.
So, right.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I see. I was just commenting here from Matt McIntyre. Said most moves AJ made last year worked most time. This year his moves aren't working as well. I do think there's an element of truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but I don't usually have a disagreement with most of the moves he's making. Like they usually seem like the right move. They just, for whatever reason, it's not working. Right? Like they, what was it last night? They brought in Canely to force Angel Martinez to bat from the left side where he's much worse, and he got an RBI single. It's like, well, like the process is fine, and that's kind of the way I feel about the hitters for the most part. Like Riley Green had 5 or 6 excellent plate appearances that produced absolutely nothing this series. And it's like that's got to be incredibly frustrating because, and they're just they're throwing him all sorts of curveballs below the zone, and he's swinging it like he swung at a lot of balls, so that's not great. But I don't know, it's tough out there.
I rarely disagree with Hinch. I appreciate the fact that they chase matchups continually and they're consistent about it. The one that I didn't love, and I said it as it was happening. I would always let Colt Keith bat instead of Jake Rogers. I just would. I mean, I think Jake Rogers is like 18 for $110 in his last 110 plate appearances against lefties. So you weren't really gaining a whole hell of a lot there, and you're taking Colt Keith out of the game, and I didn't love that one. But otherwise, I understand with chasing the matchups and with the bullpen. The bullpen has not been their problem. This whole downfall has not really been a big deal. They haven't even missed Finnegan, really. I mean, you could say the Monday game against the Guardians, or the Tuesday game against the Guardians, in extra innings, that might have been Finnegan's inning. However, he also may have pitched the 9th, and that might have been best out there anyway. You don't know how that would have went if Finnegan had been around.
Yeah, and that was just it was a very odd. And Tua, I think the extra base hits were hit under 90 miles an hour in true Guardians fashion. So like,
they landed right next to the line. One was down the third base line, one was down the first base line, and you see them. They were like the tiniest little blue pits. But as soon as they come off the bat, you're like, yeah, that's rolling to the corner. It's just right away. It's sure the Guardians knew too. That's why I think one of them ended up on third. It's just little baby blooper that rolls in the right direction.
Baby bloop. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely, like I said, definitely a disheartening series. It's kind of the worst case scenario in every way, right? Tigers fans there's a segment of Tigers fans who only want to die. And they feel like the team deserves to miss the playoffs because of the way they're playing, and all this kind of lock yourself in your bedroom and listen to your emo. And I get it, right? Like you're upset about the team not playing well, but they're still completely in control of their own destiny. They just have to win some games.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think that's fair to say because do you know how long a baseball season is? Like, we are on game 153, y'all. Like, there has been 150 of these games. I don't think it's at all fair to say that they don't deserve the playoff spot. What does that say about earlier in the season when they were the best team in baseball? Just, it's all about the timing. At the end of the year, your win total is your win total. And if they win in the division, are we really going to care about what happens? I mean, maybe, but... And it's a bad example, but really, ultimately, if they win the division, they win the division. Like I don't care how it happens. You're gonna hit slumps. Their slump is at a terrible time, but everybody slumps at different parts of the season. I don't know. I think that's way overblown. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a segment of the fan base that that they get the Lions lose the first game of the season and they think it's all over, and And I think the Packers looked pretty good against the Commanders, didn't they? So, but yeah, it would be like I hate to do this because I try to like separate myself a little bit from it. You know, I'm obviously a fan. I wouldn't have podcasts about the Tigers if I weren't, but I try to be kind of objective and journalistic about it. And it just would be kind of fascinating to see this level of collapse. Like it would be one of the greater collapses in Major League Baseball history, right? They were up by 14 games somewhere in July, right? In 11 and a half about a month ago.
Yeah,
They were
you can draw your comparisons to the 78 Red Sox and the Yankees, the Bucky Dent year. You
The
could look at
Phillies.
the 64 Phillies with the thing that they blew. But really, you just got to look back in Tiger history of 2006 and 2009, and you can
Well,
get a lot of the same feelings.
Yeah, and so that's maybe it's part of me being old and jaded, but I've seen some terrible sports things happen. You know, I think part of the sort of the tacit acknowledgement of being a sports fan is that you're hoping for great things, but you're accepting that there's going to be some awful things that happen in your life. Like one of my not earliest memories, but you know, I was 11, I think, and a huge Michigan fan when Chris Webber called a timeout they didn't have, and you know they lost in the most excruciating way. Now they may not have won anyway, but that sucked a lot. And like you said, the Tigers fell apart in 2006. I was like, well, this isn't going anywhere. And then they made the World Series. They really fell apart in 2009 with Miguel Cabrera and all that nonsense. It felt like the whole thing was going to come crashing down.
Yeah, this one feels more like '09 to me, just because that team was so short on pitching, and the Tigers have kind of slapped together pitching too. Although they're pitching okay, but you know they've got guys out that they would have liked to have had for this. But the '09 team, it just those last 2 weeks felt excruciating, and you just sat there thinking, how are they going to win one? They just could not pull something out when they needed to. And this club is the offense is so morose right now. It just kind of feels that's kind of what you're sensing here too.
Well, I just want to get in here really quick. I actually did research on the whole divisional collapse thing, Chris.
Mhm.
This would be the biggest collapse in baseball history. The
14
Tigers
games?
were 15 and a half games back in, it's August 12th, it says. They were 15 and a half games up. And
over Cleveland?
That's what this says.
Huh. I see 5.5 games up on August 12th.
Interesting. Well, maybe this is a moot point.
Is that AI?
No, this is MLB.com.
So I see, on August 12th, they were 69 and 52, and Cleveland was 62 and 56.
Interesting. Well, I've seen it reported. Maybe I'll shut up and try to find what I'm looking for here.
So I'm just looking at Baseball Reference, and they were up 14 games over, at that point, I think it was probably Kansas City on July 8th, and it was up to 11 and a half on August 23rd. So it would still be a remarkable collapse, and they've been in first place since April 5th. I'm looking since They when they moved to 4-4, they were up one game on April 5th, and since then they've been in first place. A lot still needs to go wrong for them to lose this, right? Like I said, they've got 9 games left. Just win 3 of them. 4 of them would be great. 5 would be awesome. Just win some games. Play some better baseball. Win some games.
I just thought if they avoid being swept in any of these series, they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
but that's not. Can you really take a step back and realize what we're saying? Like, oh man, they just can't get swept, and let's go to the playoffs. Yeah.
Again, 2006 they fell apart, made the playoffs, made the World Series. 2012 they weren't a good team that year. You remember, Phil Koch, I think, started that year in the rotation and ended up as their closer because Valverde blew everything. And they made you get to the playoffs. Now it's different, right? Because those teams were like stars and scrubs, right? Like they had the stars that could carry you, although they were winning games with like Don Kelly and Delman Young coming through. But they had Verlander, they had Scherzer. 2006, it was different. Verlander, Kenny Rogers, but and Bonderman. And this Tigers team is built more to theoretically kind of beat you with balance. And the problem is that when nobody's hitting, that doesn't really work. And when nobody's pitching well, that doesn't really work. Now, again, if you want to be a super optimist, you look at the 3 starts this week. From Mize looked solid until kind of the very end, right? Lots of strikeouts and swing and miss. Flaherty continues to walk too many people, but held him to 1 run, got out of a couple big jams. Skubal was Skubal, not necessarily prime Skubal, but even when he's, at B- level, that's how good he is. You just you get a little bit more offense in this series, and it's a completely different story.
It really just comes down to for Mize, his fastball looked good. I was really impressed. The only thing he did wrong was he didn't cover first base. A mental mistake. That's something I'll give the people who talk about the Guardians doing the little things. They didn't do anything like that. Okay, and that was a costly error. Some people wanted to blame Torkelson for not getting to the sprinting to the bag. If you want to say he should have realized Mize isn't coming, I better do something. Okay, but still, that the crux of that is Mize didn't do anything. So
I know there were some people upset today about sending Perez on the Dingler grounder, and he got thrown at home. That's just the way they've played all year. That's the way they're always going to play, I think, with Hinch and Cora at third, right? Like you force the other team to make a play. It does feel like you get thrown out more often than not, but bad throw, you actually might score 2 runs there. So it's like that feels like the sort of chances they're willing to take. Like I thought for sure when Parker Meadows got on base today that he was going to steal right away, and he did not even attempt to steal until it was a full count.
Yep.
And then Torres got called out on an iffy call.
Yeah, that was a questionable one. That was a good solid 2 inches above the zone, if you believe the strike zone box.
Yeah, but so rough series. But again, 9 games left. Just take some deep breaths, cleanse yourself. Hopefully the players aren't clinching too hard, and enjoy the fact that there are 3 home games left in the regular season. Like this is the final series at home. Maybe get down there if you can, because before you know it, it's going to be like 22 degrees and ice everywhere, and no baseball in sight. So
the big thing this weekend to me is, can the pitching staff continue the role they're on? It's hard to call them on a roll when the club is losing, but as you mentioned, they're doing fine. I hope they have a real short leash with Morton, and they have Montero ready to go. I would personally start Montero before I started Morton, but I don't think that's the way the Tigers are going to roll with it. But you look back even to the Miami series, they pitched pretty well. They shut them out on Sunday. I think the Friday game was lower scoring. I think Miami scored some runs on Saturday, but mostly they lost there because that extra inning fiasco where they just had the worst luck in the world and not scoring with the bases loaded. When Torkelson got thrown out at home, the ball came skipping right back to the catcher. That was just disgusting.
Yeah, that was another just kind of the weird bounces in baseball. The weird, like I said, I talked about that. What if things had gone differently after that Carpenter home run? If that ball had bounced in an opposite direction and 2-run score or whatever, and the Tigers blow it open and they win. But yeah, just a very unfortunate bounce. Maybe that's part of home field advantage. But
it was shocking. As someone who's behind the plate a lot, the catcher actually hit the ball. He touched it, and it still had enough velo on it to hit the fence and come right back to the catcher. Usually when the catcher gets as a part of it, it ain't coming back. That dens it enough where it's going to be back there someplace. It was just shocking how horrible the luck was on that play.
So I can, I've done kind of the glass half full take. I can also do the glass half empty take. The pitching was good this week, but that's partially because Cleveland is so bad at offense, right? And I was just looking. They actually are the worst offense in baseball since August 1st. 78 WRC plus. Atlanta is 102. So they're going to be facing a better offense now with 3 guys that you don't necessarily want facing. It's Morton, Montero, and Mize. It's not the same as Mize, Flaherty, and Skubal.
Right.
But we'll see. Again, maybe you're an underdog and you actually go out there and scrap your way to a win.
Well, for as bad as the offenses looked, even against the Yankees, they had 2 double-digit games. And one of them the Yankees kind of gave to them, but the other one they hit the ball great. So it's in there. If they just need to get on a little bit of roll, get a couple of bounces to go their way, and hopefully the sequencing is better, and they can just pile some of those hits up on top of one another.
Yeah. More homers.
I mean, part of me does worry that the offense did their 162 game schedule little stretch of being a really good baseball team. It just wasn't all in the same year. We had 2 months last year, and then we hit 2 months left this year, and the offense just goes stagnant again. And I'm not saying like clearly the ability is there from earlier in the year, but I have been saying all season that on paper this team isn't this good on offense. And it's kind of I'm not saying this is definitely going to stay this way, but it just seems like everybody's coming back down to earth. The team of destiny feeling is gone, and the magic that went with that has also just disappeared. And these guys are going to be forced, like, oh, you're not an underdog looking for like a good hit. You're a division leader that's about to blow it. Like, there's just like you can't quantify that, but it's a completely different air than they've been used to.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is natural, right? Like last year, there was no hope. There was nothing. They just were playing loose and easy because, if they didn't get it done, I mean, obviously they weren't ever gonna, right? Like it was an impossible dream, and they pulled it off, and it was amazing. And they were playing crazy, exciting baseball. And this year, basically since mid-July, they've been playing 500 or below baseball. Just haven't been a terribly exciting team to watch. And one of the disappointing things to me is I was kind of hoping that when Parker Meadows came back, he would provide the spark for the offense. And Meadows has been good.
Yeah.
Like he's done what I had hoped he would do, and it hasn't mattered. Which is it's just kind of a bummer to me because I was like, all right, get Meadows back. He's gonna fix center field. He's gonna get on base for these guys to hit home runs behind him. He's gonna steal some bases, and he's been doing a good job taking walks, getting hits, a couple of homers, good defense, and it just hasn't made a big difference for the team. So that's unfortunate.
And he's the second leading player in our WRC plus since the second half started at 137, just behind Kerry Carpenter.
Yeah, I'm just since he came back to the team. It's I don't know. After he's hitting 343 before today. I mean, it's 40 plate appearances, but he's doing his part, and we just hope some other people can pick it up a little bit.
Well, it's just so interesting. He Meadows is doing fine. Carpenter's actually been pretty good. Torkelson had a good series, but they just can't piece the rally together. They can't finish it off, and Riley Green is in the middle of those guys not performing in this series. Had a rough year against the Indians, Guardians. We knew I'd do that a couple times, but it comes down to they're getting the bottom of the order right now. Pitching staffs can just blow through those guys, and that's 3 outs, and it's really just short circuiting the run scoring.
Yeah, and maybe they, it's unfortunate we haven't really talked about this yet, but Colt Keith left the game today. Had a big double. I don't know. Did he score? Did he score the run, or I don't remember?
No,
but he had some sort of side issue after the game. Came out immediately. Hasn't been any real update about the condition there, but it doesn't sound great. Like Hinch did not sound optimistic.
It's just so interesting to hear the quotes of Hinch saying that Keith was saying, "I have to come out of the game now." You don't really hear. Usually, guys are fighting to be kept in the game, and to come off the field saying, "I need to be taken out." Something had to be hurting.
Yeah, maybe that's Colt Keith's way of saying like, I can't play third base like this. But I think that they do, for as much as teams want players to play through pain, they don't want them to play through injury. It's a very fine line.
Sure.
And they tell these guys, that was what happened with Skubal, right? Like that's a week ago, we thought maybe all hope was lost forever when Skubal left the game with an injury and was like, oh, that's a torn lat. He's and it was just he was just a little uncomfortable and was throwing 102 today. Maybe something good happens with Colt Keith. If not, they don't have a whole lot of options, unfortunately. I was looking, Justin Henry Malloy hasn't played since last Thursday. He got hit in the head by a catcher throwing the ball to second. He actually was called out. Badu was stealing second. Malloy stepped in front of the catcher, so it was batter interference. Sure. And then the follow through hit him in the side of the face. He hasn't played since then. Matt Vierling was rehabbing, But he hasn't played since that day.
Didn't
So
they,
I don't know what's.
I thought they
What's
shut
that?
him down.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Is that what happened?
I think so. Yeah.
No. Well, that's not good. So your option is basically Jace Young, or you add somebody to the 40 man. Now, everybody wants Kevin McGonigal, of course. Although you can't do that. He just struck out with the bases loaded, right?
Joker.
He's just being just like Riley, right?
He doesn't come through
Yep.
in big spots.
Yep. But they do have other options aside from Young, but I imagine they probably will just bring Young up. He's been playing some third base, and I totally missed the Veerling news. I'm sorry.
Would Max Anderson be the guy? I mean, he's been hitting pretty well, hasn't he?
He cooled off in AAA. They could add him to the 40 man and bring him up. They could do Hao Lee. They could do McGonigal. They could do Kevin Newman, the veteran who they added late in the season. So I don't know.
Oh, if they bring up a Kevin and he's not named McGonigal, Twitter will go crazy. You can't come with Kevin Newman.
Bada Bing Bada Boom asked this question. I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm just surprised to see this question, but how do you guys feel about Colt Keith as a player for the future?
What is he, 23?
I think he just turned 24.
You turned 24 just recently? Okay. So he's going to be 24 for the bulk of next year. I think he's. Yep. I'll go first. It hasn't been the massive step ahead this year, but I think he's showing himself to be more and more of a ball player. He's going to be, he's signed. They're going to need him. He's shown he can play a little bit of third. I'm not going to give him an A- for the year, but I think he's had a C+ season.
Yeah, he's been an above average offensive performer, and better than that. If you could cut out April, you can't. But if you did, and like he's going to be sort of iffy to hopefully average anywhere you put him on defense. But I give him a hell of a lot of credit because they're putting him all over the place. Like, remember, he was a third baseman coming up. They moved him to second base. He had barely played that. This year, he's going to play a bunch of first base because you can't trust Spencer Torkelson, right? And then Torkelson gets off to a hot start. So he's back to playing some second and some first and some DH. And then they, middle of the season say, oh, he's our third baseman again. It would, they like to have guys who are versatile, but I'm sure as a player, you wouldn't mind playing one position all the time to try to get better at it.
Right.
And I think he can get better on defense. Jace Young got better at third base, and I didn't think that was possible. So if you give him a position and say, this is yours, go out and get better at it, I think he can. And I think he's going to continue to get better as a hitter.
He has the raw power. He just doesn't come. If he gets to the point where he's getting to his power, just 20% more, 10% more, that could be a big year brewing. Yeah,
and he's made incremental improvement this year, right? Like you look, his ISO went from 120 to 155. His walk rate was from 6.5 to 10.3%. His batting average is slightly down. Not entirely sure why. The BABIP is only down by 1 point. And the defense is somewhere between fringy to below average. And again, 24. He's a guy that I still feel like you could pop one of these years. I point people to other solid players who took 2-3 years to really figure it out. Nick Castellanos didn't have a good offense this season until his third year, I don't think. So sometimes it just takes time.
Yeah, I mean, he had 4 months of this year. He's been a above average offensive player, and then in September he hasn't done much, and in, like we said, April he had a real rough April. But I mean, between May and August, he had almost an 800 OPS. I think little under an 800 OPS for 4 months, and he gets on base. Like, I don't know, he consistently draws walks even when he is slumping, and I don't see how he's not exactly the kind of player you want. Wow. I mean, the defense is iffy, but
they got
like 800 OPS guy. Yeah, I'm cool with that,
Plus, they got him signed long term to a cheap deal. They're going to make it work with him if they can. I mean,
Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking over. There was a strange play in Erie where there was a pop up to first base, and the first baseman had to avoid the batter, the guy on first base, and the umpire.
Hmm.
It was a little bit iffy. I don't know. Like, I understand, Colt Keith was a very highly touted prospect and was putting up monster numbers in the minors, and people are like, what gives? But Major League Baseball is pretty hard,
Mhm.
and I think he's done just fine this first couple of years. So
Right. So do we want to do our first segment? Do we have
sure,
that?
yeah.
All
I
right.
don't know if I have the sounders or whatever, but we could
Oh,
do it.
I got you. Here we go.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you start us off? What do you
Very
got?
simple on the numbers. The team is about the lack of offense right now. Numbers I have are 205.205, I should say, and 0 for 15. That's Zach McKinstry. He's currently on an 0 for 15, hitting 205 since the All-Star break. Um, his first year in Detroit, a lot of people criticized the deal, most because they hadn't heard of him. And he got off to a fast start. He had a big month. Then the league figured out he couldn't hit off-speed stuff underneath his hands. And then he went to about a 2-year slump. And then he came back, this year he was a reliable bat. He was a big part of why they were 20 games over 500 because he lengthened the lineup considerably over what it could have been without him. And now we're seeing that he has become a bit of a sinkhole. What he meant to the offense previously. I'm not saying he was the reason they were 20 games over 500, but he was a big spark plug of why. He was a legitimate reason. It looks to me, and again, not a hitting coach, not a scout, but inside heat is getting to him. Where he used to be he probably still will be a good fastball hitter. It looks like inside heat is getting him right now, and he still does chase the slow stuff underneath his hands every now and then.
Yeah, baseball's hard. Like I said, this is tough. You make adjustments and you feel like you figured it out, and then they just readjust, and now they're getting you out a different way. And that's what I always just I feel like, and maybe nobody else did this, but I feel like a lot of us took Miguel Cabrera for granted. Like, you just get used to that level of greatness when you watch him play. You're like, oh, he's gonna get this done, and he does, like, every time.
Yeah.
And you don't realize how hard it is to make those adjustments, like, within an at bat, to know exactly what the pitchers are trying to do to you and to hit the ball hard. Like, it's remarkable. That's why he's a Hall of Famer.
I mean,
That's why Jose Ramirez is going to be a Hall of Famer. I tweeted that out today, and a couple of people were like, he's not a Hall of Famer. I'm like,
Ooh, yeah.
he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He just turned 33. He's going to have 300 home runs and 300 steals. He's good.
yeah. Well, but I don't know, Chris. I guess you saying that kind of rubs me the wrong way because the Tigers should recognize that they don't have that player right now, right? Like, that
Oh,
dude is
well-
not coming out of the clubhouse. And instead, they relied on Zach McKinstry like he was Miguel Cabrera. And I'm over exaggerating to prove a point, but I mean, that's the problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Tigers know that Zach McKinstry is not Miguel Cabrera. I think they know they don't have a Miguel Cabrera in the
of
lineup.
course.
I think that yeah, I mean, you could argue that they should have made trades for bats at the deadline.
I mean,
To replace Baez or McKinstry or whatever. But it really is like, I mean, we think we looked at it at the time. It's like, where exactly do you put somebody? How often do you play them? Like, everybody wanted Suarez. Suarez hasn't done much of anything since
Right.
the trade deadline.
like a 600 OPS since he was traded. Yeah, 590, I think.
Doesn't mean he wouldn't have done something here or somebody else they traded. Like, they just didn't go get bats, and that may have helped. It might not have. They went and got a bunch of pitchers. It's been a mixed bag. So yeah, I think if they are sitting up there at Comerica and saying, "Yep, Zach McKinstry, future MVP,
Well,
you got it all figured out," then I'd be worried. I feel like they probably know what they have there.
for sure. It's more so like it's just a completely different era of Tigers baseball from 10 years ago. And sometimes you wonder if they think, well, I don't need Miguel Cabrera because I have three guys that I can pinch hit in that situation that add up to Miguel Cabrera. And I don't know. It's not the same thing. I don't know how to voice my frustration right now because it's just been really hard. I'll just go right into mine because I'm talking, I guess. But like that 15.5 I brought up earlier in the show, the comeback, that would be as far back as Cleveland was throughout this entire season. At
Gotcha.
that time, they were up 14 games on Cleveland, or they were up 14 games against Kansas City because Cleveland was behind them and had fewer wins, But even if they was the 14 game, they would tie the biggest divisional collapse in MLB history. So my numbers are 14 and 14. I don't think it's going to happen. Another reason why I wanted to bring this up here. I think what people need to realize is they're still – I know I'm going to get shit for this. I know it. They're still up, and ultimately the only thing that needs to happen is 6 Tigers wins plus Cleveland losses. Like Cleveland could sweep the Twins, and then they could lose. And then if the Tigers win 1 game or 2 games, they lose 1 of 3 against the Rangers. That's it. It's like the mathematical possibility of that happening is still very low, but to put it in it would be literally historic. The Tigers would be setting history 2 seasons in a row, and they'd be this year's Twins. And how does that make you feel when the Twins are 20 games under 500 right now? I mean, they're not. I don't think the Tigers are gonna just fire sale and trade 14 of their bullpen arms and just bring in an entire new bullpen in the middle of the year. But I mean, you could be at the top, and then the fall's quick. Is all I'm trying to say. And I don't think that's going to happen. But it doesn't mean that the thought hasn't crossed my mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, with each loss, the math gets a little bit more concerning. It would also be the second straight year that an AL Central team sold at the deadline and then went on a crazy run to make the playoffs at the end of the year, which is would be odd. But I don't know. If they won some games, we'd have more to talk about. But I understand why everybody's got this creeping dread behind them. But just go out and win some games. Speaking of winning games, my number is 809. That is the Tigers' winning percentage this year in games where they allow 4 wins or fewer. They're 81% win rate when they allow 4 runs or less. The best in baseball by nobody else is over 800. Now I can't take full credit for this. I saw it on Twitter. I don't know what the account was. I was trying to find it. The annoying thing about that, though, is 2 days ago, they were 72-15 in games where they allow 4 runs or fewer. The Cleveland has now beaten them twice in a row when they did that. So the winning percentage was 828. And in fact, 4 of their 17 losses this year, when they score 4 runs or fewer, have gone to Cleveland, and 3 of them have been to Kansas City. So just annoying that they've been the best team in baseball when not giving up 5 runs, and it doesn't matter right now. So that sucks.
Yeah.
That's actually nuts. And I mean, I think that we've been kind of letting everything else say it, but this is kind of how this week has made me feel, y'all. I really do believe that. I keep looking, and I mentioned that kind of earlier when I said that they were falling into the playoffs. It's not a good feeling knowing that you're literally just like, don't get swept, and we'll be fine. I don't have any hope, and I'm living. This is a roller coaster of emotions person I am. I don't have any hope that this is a team that can do anything in the playoffs right now. I think that the wheels, with 10 games to go, the wheels are too far off, and I am not trying to be doom and gloom, but that is the gut feeling I have now.
I'm going to go all over the map responding to that. Number one, at the beginning of the year, we did our predictions. I think I had them at 79 or 80 wins. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the idea that at some point this summer, they were about 23 or 24 games over 500, unbelievable to me. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Did not think they had that in them. I didn't think they'd sniff that for a minute, but they did. It's real. They were there. They did it. We saw it. So I've seen a lot of people say, well, if they blow this whole thing, this run for the last year has been for nothing. Okay, you can believe that. I don't care if someone thinks that, but A, it's been a lot of fun. But B, we've seen growth from players that they needed to see growth from. And C, we know what they're producing in the minors has a chance to be something close to special. There's a lot of reasons. And so if they were to blow this, okay, it sucks, but we move on. And the other thing is this: we've seen it enough times in history. If they do get into the playoffs, they got a shot. You're
Yeah.
in the tournament, and you only need to win. You need a couple of lucky breaks. You need a bad call by an umpire. A lot of things could happen to get them going again.
Yeah, but would you pick them, you? Would you
No,
bet on the Tigers to
absolutely
win a
not.
game in the playoffs? I wouldn't even pick them to win a single game. I don't care who they play right now.
Well,
I-
I'll go this way. Again, at the beginning of the year, I had them at 79, 80 wins. So even when they were 20 games over 500 this summer, I've never once thought they were winning the World Series this year. I'll be honest with you. I've never thought that. Oh man, they're a World Series team coming together. I thought they were really overperforming for a long time. And it turns out they may have. So, but again, if they get in and they got hot, there's nobody who thought the '06 Tigers were going to do a damn thing when they lost the last 6 games and got into the playoffs. They looked dead men walking. And all of a sudden they whooped the Yankees and won another series and got to the World Series. Crazy shit happens in baseball.
I mean, yeah, if they play the Yankees, I'd probably pick them. What if the Tigers just beat the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of operate on that theory too. Is that you get in the playoffs and strange things happen. A ball off the bag can be the key point in a 5-game series, or whatever. I think going back to 2006, that Cardinals team was not any good. They were pretty bad. In fact, they had like 3 players. And
83 wins.
who was their pitch? Like their ace pitcher? Did they have one?
Oh, Anthony something. Castro?
I guess
I should know this.
They had Chris Carpenter. Chris
Okay.
Carpenter was a solid pitcher. Let's let the rest of the rotation. Jason Marquis, negative 1.7 WAR. Jeff Suppan, 1.2 WAR. Mark Mulder, negative 1.8 WAR. Anthony Reyes, 0.4 WAR.
Yes, that was it.
Jeff Weaver, 0.0 WAR and 15 starts. That's who beat the Tigers.
And Albert Pujols.
But they robbed the Mets of a home run in Game 7, right? And
yeah, they had Pujols. They had what's his name, Roland, right? But I think Tigers fans rightfully remember that series as when the Tigers basically gave it away. Their pitchers kept making errors. Sometimes other teams suck too, and we've seen. I would very much, if the Tigers win a series against Toronto, I would say that's not going to happen. Probably not against Seattle, just based on the pitching they have. But anybody else, I think they could beat in a 5-game series or even 7-game series. New York, Boston, Cleveland, Houston. I think they could. But who knows? Like they could also, like you said, get swept and not score a run. It's baseball.
I think this R1V J4 dude needs to take a deep breath and remember that they're still in first place in the division.
Blowing a chance for another Cy Young.
I think that this is the ultimate. I unfortunately think this is how a lot of fans feel, but you have to realize how far past reality you are at this point. That's not what's happening right now. They have 99% chance to make the playoffs. They're not missing the play. One step at a time there, buddy. It's going to be okay. And Skubal isn't blowing the Cy Young. I don't know where that's coming from either.
Yeah, I mean, he leads. He's got the lower ERA. He leads in WAR, FWAR, and BWAR. Does he have just as many strikeouts as Crochet? They're about the same, right?
I think they're close.
Let's see. Crochet has 240. Skubal has 233. So if they give Crochet the Cy Young, despite having a higher ERA and a lower WAR because he has 7 more strikeouts, then I guess more power to you. But that's nothing that Skubal's done.
I mean, it's frustrating, and it's easy to feel like the sky is falling, but they still Cleveland is a negative 23 run differential. Every time I look at something about the Guardians, I get more angry that this is the team that they're fending off right now.
Yeah, it's absurd.
I mean, there is some credence to what you're saying that it's baseball. Like I hate that because we're supposed to be Motor City metrics, like in the stats. But like, man, sometimes it's really what happens, isn't it? It's wild.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Tigers have been on the wrong side of it, I think, too many times. Like the 2013 Tigers are probably the best Tigers team that of my lifetime, right up there with 84, and I don't really remember 84. And they gave up a couple monstrous home runs in the wrong time, and that was it for them. 87 Tigers were an amazing team that lost to one of the worst World Series winning teams of all time. Again, the Twins. It goes either way. It sucks. I mean, that's one of the things. Like baseball and hockey, I think, are the two sports where you can have a vastly better team and still lose in the playoffs or in any series, because a lot of it is luck and timing, and sometimes you just run into, in hockey, obviously it's you run into a goalie who stands on his head. Sometimes in baseball, you just run into pitchers who can shut you down, and it sucks because obviously when you feel like you're the better team, you feel like you should win, but baseball doesn't work that way.
Oh, 87 was so hard. They I think they expended so much energy down the stretch. They were a little flat in the playoffs, and everybody expected them to beat the Twins. And then the Twins, they just had such a good bullpen. They were a little different than a lot of teams today, or back then. They didn't push starters way deep. They used the bullpen, and boy, Detroit just couldn't touch them. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
I would say the 84 team was, well, they won the World Series, and the 13 team did not. But, I know what you mean. Those are probably the two best that I remember watching. 13 probably had better starting pitching, but the lineup was deeper, I think, for the 84 core.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you're talking about, just the point is, these were incredibly talented teams, and sometimes they don't win at all. Sometimes, I guess if we want to go into our good, bad, and ugly, if you guys are ready to do that, because I will say sometimes it does happen. Sometimes the incredibly good team does go on to win it all. And I don't know if we have this music or.
All right. Well, why don't you start us off then, Chris?
Yeah, so I was people might know what I was alluding to there, but I want to give one final shout out to the West Michigan Whitecaps this year, who won the Midwest League Championship, their first championship since 2015, and they did it by putting together one of the best seasons that you will ever see at the major or minor league level. They went what did they go? They went 44 and 21 in the first half, won the division by 8.5 games, and that's a half season. And then they went 48 and 18 in the second half, won the division by 9 games. So finished the regular season at 92 and 39. Then they won all 4 games in the playoffs to win the championship. So a final winning percentage of 711. Delicious. And their run differential, if you count the playoffs, plus 307 this year. They averaged 2.7 more runs than their opponents for an entire season. And this is despite losing 3 of the top 20 hitting prospects in all of baseball, and Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, Josue Briseño, not to mention one of their other top hitters in John Peck. They're probably their top arm in Andrew Sears, who's pitching for Erie right now, and a number of other players. And it just didn't matter. They just kept piling on wins. They scored double-digit runs 21 times this year. And the thing about that is every time they got to 10 runs, their manager, Tony Capicelli, bought them ice cream. I don't know what he must have spent 10 grand on ice cream this year. So just to point out, sometimes it is a team of destiny and they do get the job done. And that was an absolute juggernaut. So good on West Michigan. My bad is not necessarily bad. Although I never liked Clayton Kershaw that much. I'm not really sure why. I think maybe there was kind of like Verlander's better or something. But yeah, he's retiring. He announced that he's retiring, and it's time. He's only 37, but he's barely been able to pitch like a full season since 2019, I think. But you have to acknowledge that he is one of the greatest pitchers of all time, at least statistically, right? 222 wins, 96 losses, a 2.54 career ERA, which I think I saw was the lowest for a pitcher with however many number of innings since 1916. Um, just at an all-time great. What is it? An MVP, 3-time Cy Young, all-star all over the place. And he's gone off to, he'll head down to Texas and do whatever he has to do. But end of an era there. So that's a bummer, sort of. And then my ugly is this is just kind of out of nowhere, but I was looking at the stats since August 1st just because I wanted to see how people were doing. And Ellie De La Cruz has been real bad since August 1st. Real bad. He is hitting 208 with no home runs. He does have 6 steals, but that's a 45 WRC plus down the stretch. Negative 0.30 WAR, negative 0.03 WAR. This is a guy that I thought was kind of going to be a superstar, and he did have a great first half of the season, but it's been kind of rough for him. He was a 6.5 WAR player last year. It's a 3.8 this year, which is still great, right? But it's been a tough final stretch for him. So that's my ugly.
Yeah, and the Reds, I mean, they're mathematically in it, but the way they've been playing, they couldn't even beat the Cardinals. So they're looking. They could have used him. They really went. They went in and they tried. And when your superstar doesn't work out, that also doesn't work out. Oh, wow, what's up, you? What do you have?
For me, the good. I just want to again mention the Tiger bullpen. So many people were down at the trade deadline about what was going to happen, and then it ended up the Tigers had one of the better bullpen ERAs in August. Maybe slowed down a little bit early September, but then this past week, the bullpen has been very, very good. I mean, I know Will Vest had his bad moment, but otherwise, the other night, Holton, Horn, and Montero kept the Indians or Guardians off the board for several innings. Really looked good doing it too. And again, it's the Guardians, and we know their offense isn't great. But in Miami, the bullpen pitched pretty well. I really happy to see that Tyler Holton seems to be back on track. And because this year has been very sporadic, up and down, but it looks like he's someone that they should probably give another chance next year to be a big part of the bullpen because it's still in there. And then Montero, you can count me as someone who was among the multitudes of people who were skeptical that he was going to be anything. They made the changes with him. Nobody's hitting him for major contact. He's still walking a few guys, but he's been a big part of. If this team had been winning, he would have helped them win some of these games, but just unfortunately they're not, and so it's kind of get lost in the shuffle. And then Finnegan was good before he got hurt. My bad, Wenzel Perez. It's hard to say bad. I don't want to say he's been bad, but I think he's hitting like 231 in the second half. The power seems to have dried up a bit. He was another one like McKinstry. The lineup was long because those guys were lengthening it, and now they're shortening the lineup a little bit. So it'd be nice if Wenzel could find something in these last couple of weeks. You get a couple of big hits because he certainly has the power in the bat from either side to do it. Ugly, let's not beat around the bush. The offense, we've talked about it all. I just wonder what the odds are this week that they can bust out for 2 or 3 games like they did in New York. In New York, they got a hand from the New York pitching. Then the second time they did it themselves. They're hitting the ball hard. You have to believe that with some of the power bats they have in their lineup, they can have a couple games where Torkelson and Carpenter hit some home runs, and they can put 7-8 runs on the board and win a ball game. It's been an ugly stretch. They've been hard to watch offensively. And I have no stats behind it other than the feeling that the old saying that they're due. Are they due for a couple of big games, a couple of rallies? And they got to hope so.
Fair enough. I mean, we pretty much talked about all of mine, except the only good thing I could even come up with was I'm very interested in Jose Urquidy's curveball. I was talking to Chris about this a little bit. It was nasty, and it looks nasty. Granted, I think he gave up 2 hits on it, so obviously it's not crazy. But just watching that pitch move in contrast with the rest of his pitches, he threw it 79 miles an hour. His 4-seamers up at 93. I think that's I understand why the Tigers signed him. I guess like Hinch, this was a guy that Hinch knew from Houston, obviously. So there's familiarity is a big part of it, but watching that movement and just the change in velocity that he has, it makes me wonder what they could have had if he could have really started for them this year instead of having to wait until the last 3 weeks of the season to see him. They could have used him for sure in this starting rotation in any capacity, really. But that was really like the only good thing I could take out of the Cleveland series. The bad for Detroit is Houston and Seattle are. We haven't really talked about the fact that Houston and Seattle are, I believe, a game and a half or 2 games back of the Tigers right now for the 2 seed. The only good thing is they're playing each other, so as long as one of them doesn't get the sweep, then they're guaranteed. One team's going to fall back a little more at the very least, even if they do get swept. So 2 seed is really not looking safe. I mean, the division lead isn't looking safe. So obviously that's what everybody's worried about. But even if they win the division, it's not even guaranteed that they're not going to have a wild card anyway. So I just thought it was worth bringing up that they could absolutely still win the division, but not get the bye. That's still in the cards right now. And more realistic, I think it's more realistic for them to get the 3 seed and win the division than to lose the division right now.
That's fair.
And then go ahead.
Oh, I was going to go back to Urquidy, but you can finish your points and we'll go back there for a second.
Okay. We talked about Cole Keith. He has had a really rough September, last 28 days. I think his OPS in the 500s, 64 OPS plus, I think I saw. So it hasn't been great, but throughout the dog days of summer, Cole Keith was quietly an everyday player. I know we really didn't talk about him all year. He was just consistently improving from his terrible start. And before you knew it, his numbers were creeping up and he's having an above average year. It's not great to lose a guy to injury. It's real hard to break out of a slump when you're injured. And I did see that they can't even place him on the IL right now because that would make him ineligible for the postseason if they were to place him on the injured list. So that is not an option. If he has to miss some time, they have to make the choice whether they want to just keep him around and hope it works out or shut him down for the rest of the year. And that's not a great thing to be looking at in these last 9 games. I'm real worried about that Cole Keith stuff. I know we don't have any news yet. We don't know if it's bad, but I'm very worried about that. You can't lose a center of your lineup kind of guy.
So yeah, the thing I wanted to say about Urquidy, sorry, and I agree with you that losing Cole Keith would be a real bummer. Hopefully he's fine. I was looking at Urquidy's because what you talked about, that riding 4-seamer with the hard downer curve, or the downer curve, not necessarily hard, was kind of the archetype for the Astros back in the day when they were, 2016, 2017, that era when they were confounding people with their pitching because those pitches tunnel really well off each other. And I was looking at the metrics, at least what we can see. So the last time he pitched, 2023, his 4-seamer had 19.5 inches of vertical break, IVB. And this year, 19.4 or 19.6 for the 4-seamer, 19.4 for the sinker. So basically right back. Velocity was 93 before, now it's 93. And the curveball, 57 inches of vertical drop. Before it was 56. So, yeah, he seems to be back in form. Now, there was some confusion about what happened today with, they designated him for assignment, but, they had an option on him for next year. And I think that they exercised that option. And then I think he had minor league options, right? So then he consented to being sent down. So they didn't lose him. And I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with him next year. If they try to groom him to be one of their starters, I think that's probably what they should do, even if he's the 5th starter.
Yeah.
Just trying to, think about next year's rotation in my head. It's probably, Skubal, Flaherty, Mize, Melton, and Urquidy. I don't know.
Not
Maybe
Olsen?
Montero. What's that?
Not Olsen?
Well, I guess Olsen. Yeah. So Olsen, hopefully he's healthy. So there's
Yeah.
that. So yeah, maybe Urquidy continues to pitch out of the bullpen. Maybe they trade somebody. Maybe Flaherty opts out for some odd reason. So I don't know. But it's nice to have him as another potential option. Maybe just have him as your long reliever, and he's good in that role all year. So
yeah, maybe. I hope so, just because I'm real interested in watching him pitch, and it'll be a lot more interesting in a Tigers uniform, obviously. I mean, we've been kind of doom and gloom quite a bit today. Is there any more we want to talk about went into the Brave series? I mean, there's another series with Cleveland. I mean, is there much to say that hasn't been said at this point?
Not really, right? Like, you mentioned the Braves have a whole lot of talent. We talked about the pitchers they're facing, right? Joey Wentz and Bryce Elder and Strider. Just got to go out and win. And then, Cleveland, I assume they'll probably get, who will they get again? Who pitched
Ryan?
against, who pitched against Mize?
Cantillo?
Ask me a question.
Cantillo, yeah, Joey Cantillo. They'll probably get Cantillo again. I don't know. Maybe Cleveland will put Logan Allen in there or something. But, the opportunity is before them.
ESPN projected for that. If you care about this, it's Williams, Bybee, and Messick are the 3 projected starters for Cleveland.
Interesting.
Because they have a 4-game series against the Twins. Yeah.
6-man rotation lately.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, well, Williams, Bybee, and I don't know. You see him twice in a couple days. Maybe you can get to him. But, of course, that applies the other way around, too. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe Joey Wentz can really help this team win one more time. For old time's sake,
There you go.
Serve up them meatballs that you served up while you were here, and that would be wonderful. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for the show. Appreciate you guys making it out. Sorry we're not as on top of the comments and everything. Used to having our guy Rogelio here. But thanks again. We will talk to you again. And, there's a chance Tigers will clinch the division. There's a chance that dream is dead. So we'll talk to you either way a week from now. Have a good night. Mike Papchak with Yoop and Chris Brown.
Stay classy, everybody.